All right, it's 6:07 p.m., so I will call the public hearing to order. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the public to provide input, comments regarding the proposed City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium Annual Action Plan for fiscal year 2021-2022. Notice of the public hearing was faxed and or emailed to the media, emailed to various social service agencies and citizens, and placed in the city on the City of Urbana's website on March 16th, 2021. I now declare the public hearing open. If anyone desires to express their views regarding needs and priorities for the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual action plan, please come forward and be recognized or raise your hand in the Zoom call. Written comments are also welcome, and there's an email on the website that you can share comments via that email. So I don't see that we have anyone joining us. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Since there are no further comments, public hearing is now closed. Okay. So let's move into our agenda for the commission meeting. So I call the commission to order at 6:09 p.m. And Braden, are you going to call roll for us? Okay, thank you. You're muted right now.
There we go. Thank you. Commissioner Silvas?
I'm here.
Commissioner Diana?
Here.
Commissioner Freeman?
Here.
Commissioner Salam? Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. So we'll go to the first item on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes of our February 23rd, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Patty. And Bob is a second. Is there a comment or discussion on the minutes from February 23rd, 2021?
Excellent minutes. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no comments or corrections to the minutes, we'll have a roll call for approval of the minutes from February 23rd, 2021.
Commissioner Silvas?
I approve.
Commissioner Diana?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
And Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
So the minutes are approved. Are there any additions to the agenda? No? Okay, so that sends us to public input, and there's no one in council chambers. I don't see anyone on our list of attendees, so there is doesn't appear to be any public input this evening. So that brings us to presentations and the staff report.
I provided a staff report in your packet. I am out of town and don't have a packet or access to one. So quickly, we've been attending, Braden and Heather Ann are taking some in-depth HUD training. I've been training periodic workshops on monitoring, that type of thing. And don't remember anything else that I put in there. That was so last week. So if anybody has any questions on what's on the staff report, I'd be happy to take questions.
Champaign County Healthcare Consumers was something that
Thank you
wanted to talk about.
Yep, thank you, Braden. So Champaign County Healthcare Consumers approached us about needing some additional funding. They have been kind of providing services to those that fall in the gap. So if somebody is homeless and ends up being hospitalized and then they need to be quarantined when they come out of the hospital, Healthcare Consumers has been providing shelter for them. It's an unbudgeted item. They don't have the capacity in their budget to cover it, but right now they felt like they needed to provide the service and they would look at the funding later. So we took that to council a couple weeks ago for approval to provide them some of the COVID-19 money that we've received from the federal government that can only be used to respond, prevent, or prepare for the pandemic. And it seemed like a good use of the funding. So we awarded them $40,000 to be used for a counselor. Some of their seniors in particular, or those in limited English settings, Hispanic neighborhoods, aren't necessarily getting all of the notices about vaccines and ways that they can access services. And so they're going to hire a part-time social worker, counselor, to be able to go out into the community and just help people get access to services, as well as continue to provide housing and some funding for just basic needs and necessities. So I wanted to let you guys know of that service. We didn't bring it forward because we didn't want to delay it a month. We wanted to get the funds out into the street as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Sheila, for that info.
Yeah.
So there's no, it's just bringing this to us so that we're aware of it, there's no action
Right.
required. Okay.
No. With our COVID-19 money, we are using it for small business assistance, rental assistance. We gave funding to First Followers for their Welcome Home program, which I think you guys reviewed that application, and then this Champaign County Healthcare Consumers. We have about $80,000 left, and we're trying to reach out to agencies who just kind of are serving those that don't necessarily fit into township programs or any of the other funded programs. So, and I think, Chris, you had asked for a list of funding of what was out in the community for others. And Braden and I did some research, and it seems like the majority of the funding that has come to Champaign County, including City of Champaign and City of Urbana, has been used for small business and rental assistance or housing assistance, not necessarily just rental. These type of social services have not received the individualized funding unless they were using it to provide homeless or rapid rehousing assistance.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sheila-
to that
Sheila?
point, there's a memo included in your packet that talks about some of those programs that have been funded with COVID funding in the community, just for everyone's information, especially as we're considering the funding priorities for the Consolidated Social Service Funding Program.
Hey, Sheila.
Yes.
I know this past Friday, the Penn Methodist Churches of Champaign Urbana gave out vaccinations to all the homeless and those in downtown Urbana. So we're going to
That's
try
great.
to do that again. So we forgot to send it to you, so I apologize for that. But when we do it
Yeah.
again, we'll let you know.
That's great. I also know Public Health has been visiting the shelters and trying to capture, get our homeless population vaccinated as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any comments on that? I think we're still on staff report, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Sheila or for Braden? Thanks. That's good information. Thank you for those updates. That brings us to item 6 on our agenda, which is unfinished business, and that is looking at those funding priorities for the Consolidated Social Service Funding. We talked about this a little bit last time, and we did have a list of what we've done in the past. No, I'm looking for that and I can't find it. But I think that we can just talk about in the past, and Chris, you'll have to help me remember if we want to give sort of a update on and report of what we've done in the past. In the past, what we've done is tried to identify priorities that allowed for some flexibility as issues came up, emerged, and also as programs were presented so that staff had a chance to respond to something that was imminent and also had a chance to fund programs that came in that were worthwhile. So that we wanted to provide some guidance, but with some flexibility at the same time. And that's pretty much how we've addressed this in the past and not agonized over it too awful much because it's, I believe, something like $5,000. And it does, you know, that's significant, but it doesn't go an awfully long way in addressing some of these issues that we brought up. So I think what we have done in the past is identified, is it 3 priorities, kind of generally stated that we wanted to have at the forefront when we thought about how to allocate the $5,000.
Yeah, exactly my recollection. And I think we found through trial and error of having tried to get 2 specific years ago that, like you say, that was really counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
Where if we had 3 priorities that, let's say they were youth services, senior services, and homeless services, that pretty much leaves the door open to almost any kind of application, which gives a lot more flexibility to matching a program that shows up's needs. So.
And I think one other thing that you funded most recently since I've been there too is education programs for youth and financial education.
Oh.
Yeah, and the question always was if we wanted to be specific and do something like youth education, or if we wanted to do that broader brush of youth services, which youth education would fall under, but it wouldn't work the other direction. So it's just how wide we want to leave the door open.
Right.
So Sheila, in your experience, is it helpful then for us to use some of this terminology that's a little broader? Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Okay.
And we'll be getting together with the township soon to be outlining priorities. And so we'll keep you involved in that loop as we move forward.
Okay. So tonight is, in this meeting, do you want us to come up with 3 priority areas and get those confirmed? I know we tabled it from last time.
Yeah. Yes, I would.
Okay.
Just depending upon what comes up or as our discussions with township move forward, we at least kind of know what your priorities are.
Okay. All right. So let's take care of it tonight then. So any more discussion before we have some proposals for what we might have as a list of 3 priorities?
I liked what Chris said. You know, senior, youth, and homeless kind of covers pretty much everything.
Mhm. I think maybe in previous years, after some discussion, we've gone back to our list and realized that all we've done is maybe shuffle the same 3 in slightly different order. And I can't remember if we've used this order before or not, Chris, but you just said youth services, senior services, and homeless services. And we could talk about the order that we present those in, or we could just leave them the way they are.
I'd leave them the way they are because somebody might be really creative and come up with something that covers everything. Who knows?
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So
I think it's nice that since it's such an odd year and likely to be another odd year, you might as well not pigeonhole things because who knows what somebody, like you said, Sheila, may come up with something wonderfully creative and we want to make sure there's room for it. So.
Right.
So, Chris, do you want to put that in the form of a motion for us to consider?
Certainly. I move that we use for our 3 priorities, we use youth services, senior services, and homeless services as the 3 categories that we want to focus on.
Is there a second?
I second.
Excuse me. Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, Braden, I think we're ready for a roll call vote on that motion. So if you're in favor of that motion, say aye. If not,
Commissioner Silvas,
aye.
Commissioner Diana,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes and we have the 3 priorities.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to new business. And the first item under new business is the senior repair program.
Okay, we brought to you resolution to move forward to City Council program to have Regional Plan Commission manage our senior repair program. The City of Champaign has been doing this for some time. With Randy leaving, we have limited staffing capabilities, and I feel like it's an important program that an agency like RPC handle for us, because if they go out to take an application and they see, oh, this person might need Meals on Wheels, or this person might need mobility assistance or whatever, they have the trained staff to get them to the other services as well, where if we go, we're there just to do the rehab piece. So this is for our smaller repairs. It's not for our larger program, but I think in an attempt to provide better customer service, I would like to see this program move to RPC. We're proposing to do it for a 2-year pilot and see how that works. And if that works well, then we may do the program like in the same timeline as our consolidated plan, annual action plan cycle.
We have a memo from Sheila describing that, which provides a lot of detail in terms of the time frame Sheila just described. That's all in the memo. So is there any discussion? We talked about this at our last meeting too. I think it sounds like a really good idea, personally.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good philosophy, and yeah, and there's a lot of good information in the packet about all the details. So it's pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, I like the idea too of moving it there on a kind of like a 2-year trial. That means everybody's going to be paying attention to it, because it always has been a very well used and valuable program, and we want to make sure it doesn't just fade away someplace. So.
Right.
There are 3 options for us then, if there's no further discussion, to forward the resolution to the City Council with a recommendation for approval, or forward the resolution to City Council with a recommendation for approval with any suggested changes, which we did not come up with, or do not forward the resolution to allocate those funds to the senior home repair program. So those are our 3 options, and we'll be making that recommendation to City Council. So does someone want to choose one of those and put it in the form of a motion?
I move that we forward the resolution to City Council with a recommendation to approve.
Is there a second? Thank you, Patty.
Second.
Chris has the second. Is there discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, I think we're ready for a voice vote on that, Braden. All in favor say aye, and if an opposed.
Aye. Or do you have to do a roll call?
I think you have to do a roll call vote, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I think when you say our name, we say aye.
Commissioner Silvas,
Aye.
Commissioner Diana,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
So the ayes have it, and that motion passes. That just rolls off my tongue to say, all in favor say aye. It's fine, I just can't stop myself from saying. Okay, so the next item on our agenda under new business is the bond cap, and Sheila sent us some information on that as well.
Yeah, bond cap is not really cash that comes to the city. It's an allocation set aside by the state of Illinois based on your population. So this year for each person, we get $110,000, or I mean, sorry, $110 that we can say allocate towards priorities. So like I said, I don't have the packet here in front of me. I am out of town, but I think we have a little over $4 million.
$4,625,000.
Provides down payment and housing, and Illinois Housing Development Authority, which provides mortgage purchasing, as well as IDA has done a lot of work. They've invested in Crystal View. They've also invested in Highland Green. And then the third one is, I believe it's EIDIA. I could have that alphabet wrong. And they're also an affordable housing developer. They've done 2 projects in central Illinois, one in Mattoon and one of the housing authority's properties. And I think it's Haven at the Market or Market at the Haven. So we can fund all 3. We can focus our priorities on one, or staff has made the recommendation that we split the pot in half and give half to Illinois Housing Development Authority and half to Assist, because they have actually made investments in Urbana. And I provided a map of the down payment funding that Assist has provided to Urbana residents, and they've done quite a bit of work over the last few years.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sheila. This is a really detailed packet with a lot of good information in it.
Mm-hmm. So is there any questions for Sheila? The one thing that is somewhat confusing at times is that it's not actually funding that the city is paying out. It's just the bond cap that we're allowed. And if we're not going to do those projects, we can cede that bond cap to these entities that will do the projects. So it's kind of like it's not exactly.
And if we do nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And if we do nothing, it goes to the state of Illinois with other unallocated funding, and they can do with it, where they see priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm always a fan of spending money in our local community instead of not doing anything, sending it back. Come on.
Well, especially since these choices that we have are actually doing projects in Urbana or in the area. Sometimes they're just projects in the area, but those area projects benefit us as well. So any other questions or discussion before we look at a motion? And I think the motion would be something along the lines of what was listed there in the recommendation, or if we want to make some other recommendation.
No, I like the staff recommendation to split it in half.
Do you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Okay, so I move that we concur with the staff recommendation to move the resolutions forward to Urbana City Council to allocate the Urbana 2021 private activity bond cap in the following manner: half in the amount of $2+ million from the private activity bond cap to be utilized for the Assist 2021 program, and the other half to the Illinois Housing Development Authority to be used for possible neighborhood initiatives in our community.
Thank you, Patty. Is there a second?
Second.
Chris gives the second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing no discussion, I think we're ready for the roll call vote. Braden?
Thank you. Commissioner Silvas?
Aye.
Commissioner Diana?
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman?
Aye.
And Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Anything else for the good of the cause?
I'd like to thank the staff for all the hard work they did to prepare this really interesting, really detailed packet. Makes our job really easy.
Makes us to not have to do no work. Amen. But it's good. Thank you, Braden, Sheila. Appreciate you guys highly.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
you
I-
are welcome.
I especially appreciate the information about the bond cap. I mean, year after year, that it's confusing to people, and we always need to review. Now, what is that again? And it's nice to have it all laid out. And Sheila and Braden, really appreciate your explanation and your recommendations that come after a lot of thought and planning and experience in doing this. So, all
Yeah,
good.
that's definitely the best explanation on paper that I've seen of that in a long time. Very, very nice to have it.
Okay, so we're at the end of our agenda, so I will declare our meeting adjourned. And thank you all for participating, and see you next time.